afternoon. Thanks for joining us on Graps TV and The Sicko Show. I'm your host, the Matty Man. Today, we have got a few things on our plate that are definitely hot button topics I want to talk about, and I'm pretty sure others are going to talk about them during the course of the day. I was kind of bored. I was having a discussion. Well, I wouldn't call it a discussion. It's a one-sided drone discussion where the drone's like define drone. And that led me to the subject of this stream. You know what? WWE drones, pick a fucking struggle. Just pick one. I mean, I have seen so much drone babble today, it's just been crazy. Obviously, there's rumblings about the TV deal, and everybody's got to get out in front of that, and they've got to sit there and go, oh, no, 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 they still don't have a TV deal. We haven't heard anything about it. Who the fuck are you? For real. I will sit here and talk in an echo chamber all day long. I don't really care. Because at least I'm on and I'm doing what I need to be doing. That's the answer. Someone texted me, it's like, why are you even getting on, man? It's way, and I don't even know who these people are. I don't even know how they got my number. Don't care. It's irrelevant to me. Don't really care. If you want to watch, watch. If you don't want to watch, I don't really care. I don't. I mean, one way or another, I'm going to be monetized anyway, so it doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. These, as one of my friends calls it, these pocket watchers. People who want to tell you how everybody else is spending their money. Now, regardless of whether they actually know what they're talking about or not, is irrelevant. Because now, in case you guys haven't been keeping up with it, apparently AEW has a salary of over $50 million. They may, who knows? Fact of the point is, nobody knows. They can't possibly know. Why is that? Because Tony doesn't put that shit out there. And in fact, I think he gets a little bit upset when the curtain gets pulled back legitimately, because he likes to take all the hits for everybody else. Because if everybody knew what was going on in the background, they would pick different people to fight on, because obviously Tony doesn't give him the time of day. Most people don't give him the time of day, but it becomes incumbent. That's a big word. It becomes necessary. It becomes a necessary duty to spend at least one stream explaining to you exactly. I get this question all the time. I really do. I get this question all the time. Like, oh, well, what's a drone, man? What's a drone to you? A drone to me is a drone to everybody. That's who they are. Now, excuse me. Still getting over a little bit of illness, so bear with me here. Drones are people that don't want anybody to have fun. Okay? I sit on my side of the fence all day long, and of course, I've had this conversation with my viewers. I've said, look, until WWE's product gets more to the point of where you can actually analyze it, I don't want to bother with it. I really don't. I don't want to waste brain cells. I don't need 35 reminders. I don't need a whole lot of what they provide. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now, back in the days when I didn't have access to the programming at all, it came in handy for their premium live events to know what was going on. That way I wasn't totally out of the loop and just sitting there watching random matches for no good reason at all. But for the most part, you could figure it out pretty quickly. A couple of pieces of the package. That's all they needed to, Cody did this, or Kevin did this, or Roman did that, or, oh, okay, now I know where we're at. It doesn't take a lot, at least not for an experienced fan, to understand what's going on. It really doesn't. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. That's why I don't cover it. I really don't, because I don't want to sit there. I don't want to waste. I will watch the show, but I'm not going to waste airtime talking about the show, because I can't very well sit there and talk to you about what a drone is and turn around and drone myself. Just don't believe in that. Now, a lot of it's fact and some of it's opinion. But because some of it is opinion, I won't cover any of it. My disgust with the product has absolutely nothing to do with the actual performers. The performers are there to do a job, just like anybody else is. I go to work once in a blue moon. I have to go do home inspections once in a blue moon. I show up and I do my job. It's not my responsibility to tell you whether you have a good house or not. And if you ask me, I simply will say it's good house. And that's the end of it, because that's my job. It is not my job to pontificate on your house. And a lot of people tend to get really PO'd when you do that. So I just tell them what the facts are, put it in the report, hand them the report. Then I go home. That's it. When I'm doing these shows here, it actually requires me to give an opinion. And if I have to give an opinion of something that I know is automatically going to offend somebody, I'd rather not cover it. Whereas when I cover what you see in front of you there, and I'm thinking about adding TNA and New Japan to it, those are the shows that I prefer to watch. AEW is something I prefer to watch. Ring of Honor is something I prefer to watch. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy watching NWA. I enjoy watching the old school way of doing things. And I'm glad it's still out there. But at some point in time, guys, I mean, I get it during pay per view weeks. I get it. I know that you've got to be out front and center. You've got to be out shitting all over the product. You've got to be out there pointing out all this other stuff. But point out what you know. Point out what you don't know. Don't point out what you don't know. I'm sitting here looking at a post today, and this guy's just sitting here clean up my ass, talking about, what do you think a drone is? What do you think a drone is? I'm like, bitch, I'm talking to one. That's exactly it. Bitch, I'm talking to one. And I didn't want to say that because apparently people get all in their feelings about it, because nobody wants to be called that. And I don't want to be one, so I don't do things that would put me in my own classification of what it is. You want to know what a drone is? Most of you that have to ask that question, go find a mirror. That's your answer. Hey, shout out to the 6 people that are here. I really appreciate it. This is going to be about an hour and 10 minute stream. So if you stay with me, I really appreciate that as well. Thank you. But I really am going to need you guys, if you're going to drone on, I'm going to need you to pick a struggle. AEW is either too violent or it's romper room. Make up your fucking mind. There either is too much money getting spent or there's not enough money getting spent. Make up your mind. Pick a struggle. Because some of us do have the ability to deal with mental cluster bombs. Since you're throwing shit out there for engagement and engagement farming, throw this out here. AEW has never disclosed their payroll. They disclose their office payroll, and it's a very minimal disclosure, and it's a very vague figure. Somewhere between 60,000 and 250,000, depending on the role. That's in the office. Nobody knows, and the talent is pretty damn smart enough not to leak what they're actually getting paid. Do I think MJF is making $15 million on this deal? No. But MJF is smart enough to know that if he says that on television, WWE drones will eat that shit up. Look, they're paying MJF $15 million, and by God, he's already on vacation again. Look at this. Isn't this bullshit? AEW's in the mud. That's drone babble. And you get set up every single time. Like Covalent, Drain Damage, all of them are starting to talk more about the television deal that we know is already there because some of us worked in the industry, some still work in the industry. And we know how much HR it costs to do what's going across here. How do we know? Some of us actually did the shit. And there seems to be this prevailing thought. This is drone babble too, by the way. AEW media has been getting populated across Max in Europe. It's coming all the way across Europe, hasn't made it to the United States yet. When it does, I'm going to buy Max. In fact, I'm getting ready to sign up for it probably next week, week thereafter. As soon as I know that the media is making its way over here, and as soon as I know they've done everything they need to do before it goes live. Here's what happens when you push a catalog across a streaming platform, because a lot of you guys sit here and share content on Twitter and Facebook and the various social media platforms, YouTube, things like that. You guys sit around and share media all day, and you think it's that easy to push the media out. Oh, well, I'll just sit here and click and share, and it's over there. I've done it. Okay, here's what happens during a rollout. We're going to break this thing down. Not quite like a fraction because I didn't work in every piece of the industry. So I don't want to speak for offices I didn't work in. The first thing you do is you get the media itself. That media is reviewed by a group of people so that they can have they can wrap their mind around what the media is. 9 times out of 10, the people that review this media are not even interested in it. I used to have to review horror movies. I had to look at them, make sure the content matched what was on the piece of paper. This is TV 14. This is what you should expect. This is what's in it. So we actually have to sit there. Believe it or not, AI does not sit there and watch the movie. Actual human beings do that. That costs money. Then once they've determined that the media matches the paperwork, they hand it off to the engineers. Now the engineers size it and so on and so forth. They size it for quantity and everything else because server farms are not cheap, guys. They're not cheap. Server farms access points, additional access points are not cheap. So they have a group of people whose entire designation is just to determine the size of the file, where it fits in the farm, and the roadmap to get to that particular object in that particular farm sequence. That way they maximize their server farm space. So there's an entire group that does that. Then there's a group of people that come in and create the launch strategy. And that group's made up of 3 or 4 other groups. I say 3 or 4 because it's different from company to company. And I am speaking on this as an authority because I did do it. We have not automated this process because I'm going to tell you something right now. If a titty pops out in front of a 5-year-old kid, that's a lawsuit. if the parents are not properly warned. So all of this has to happen before they determine they're going to actually place it. Once the engineers have looked at the package and they say, okay, we can put it on farm A across this road map. These are going to be the levels of it or the paths of entry to it, and that's going to be your ISPs and your hard equipment customers. Those are the people who have set top boxes and so on and so forth. They access it completely different than a streamer accesses it. Their path is completely different. So then we have to look at their path. How many are they? So that we know that people who want to watch Game of Thrones are not getting kicked off their show because all of a sudden AEW had 25 million fans that we didn't know about. Then we do a risk assessment of the actual material. That goes through legal. And, lawyers don't get paid $15 an hour, guys. And it's not just one lawyer that sits there and goes, okay, this works for me. No, it's a group. So we have anywhere from 5 to 12 people tied up looking at this media, rating this media for risk analysis. Then we can think about loading it. Now, once it's started to be loaded, once they start to load it, you have a team of people that monitor it. Because the way you monitor it's how it's going to stream out of your building too. Are there any bad bites we don't know about? Is there something that's going to hang it up? Because, yeah, you lose bytes in translation. Once we've determined all of that, then it's loaded. Now we have to do stress tests. In other words, we have to figure out whether the target audience is composed of 250,000, a million, a million five. In the case of Game of Thrones, it was like 27 million that we had to figure for at any given time. And you have to realize, too, at any given time, at any given network, on any given platform, there are approximately 200 other shows going on with that same stream. Now, the reason I'm taking all of this time to explain is because some of these comments that I read are absolutely asinine stupid. Like, oh yeah, they just threw that up there. No, they didn't just throw that up there. Now, once we've got our load balance and everything, now we're ready to release it. And even then, there's going to be problems. So we have to have a team of people to study, make sure you don't have any, because there's going to be unforeseen circumstances and consequences. Because, like I said, entertainment is entertainment. And at any given time, on any given platform, besides what you're watching, there are at least 200 other shows going on with hundreds of millions of people watching them. And if your load goes janky, if your load goes sideways, you shut all them down, you've killed your customer service department for the rest of the fucking day. That's the end piece of it too. Because you have to train your customer service department on it. You have to educate them on it. That's another process. So no, it's not just hit the share button and boom, it's gone. That is not how the process works. So when you see a company put that much content out there, that is the amount of human resources that was required to get that content where it needed to go. And there's still a group of human resources that are watching that content. Then there's another group of human resources supporting that content. Then there's another group of human resources taking the phone call when the shit don't work. All in all, in order to broadcast Super Bowls, I want you to pay attention to this one. This one's very important. To broadcast just the Super Bowl, I'm not talking about any other show on television at all for the other 364 days, 365 on a leap year. The budget just to present the Super Bowl across streaming platform and television is close to 400 million for that one show. Now, if you believe for 1 minute that Warner Brothers Studios is losing that much money and then they're going to go ahead and spend a whole lot of money on content that they don't have a contract for, the amount of money it costs to put that library just in Europe, I don't even want to know what it costs in Europe. I have an idea of what it costs once it gets to the United States. Just to get that content loaded is going to cost in excess of 150 to 200 million dollars for a company that WWE drones claim is losing money. They're going to fire their CEO, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and they're going to do the other. I'm trying to bring you around to why this drone babble is annoying. For those of y'all who are just tuning in, that's where we're going with it. So if you expect me to believe that a company is going to spend anywhere, and honestly, I'm being very conservative. 200 million is a very conservative figure to load all of this content. 200 million minimum. 5-year company, 52 weeks out of the year shows, about 4 to 10 pay-per-views averaging 4 to 6 hours a piece. 200 million is a conservative figure. That's just in the United States. I don't want to know what unionized Europe is going to cost, because Europe is highly, highly, highly unionized in this. In fact, I came really close to moving overseas to pursue this, because I could have gotten paid 5 times as much to do what I do there than I was doing it here. It was that astronomically higher. So I don't even want to know how much the European cost. I don't want to know what the price tag was to make that migration happen, because the price tag here is close to 200 million, and that's conservative. So you mean to tell me that a television network is going to spend just that much just in this? And we're not in Canada, we're not in Mexico, we're not in any of that either. That's just the United States. That's how much it's going to cost to migrate that very small library, because 5 years is very small. Weekly episodic television at an hour to 2 hours a clip, 5 hours a week. You're looking at 1,500 hours a year for the last couple of years. 1,500 hours of programming, way more than that actually. I'm leaving 65 days off here. I'm just using the 52 process here. That doesn't count the pay-per-views and everything else, and then everything has to match. At the end of the day, the biggest part of it is that network or that broadcast has to broadcast while 250 other broadcasts have to broadcast too. No company on the face of the planet will invest that much human capital for something they don't have. It is just that simple. So not only does AEW have a television deal, their content is practically loaded already. Now, the migration over to the United States probably going to be a little interesting because they're going to have to load balance over here too, and our load balancing is a lot different than it is in European countries because European viewing habits are completely different from North American viewing habits, and United States viewing habits are completely different from Canadian viewing habits, are completely different from the country of Mexico's viewing habits. And to be honest with you, if you really want to keep it a total buck right here, even in the United States, continental viewing habits versus island viewing habits are completely different depending on what season you're in. We're in the hurricane seasons right now. Let that sink in for just a minute. Another struggle. Literally, Monday morning, like the ink wasn't even dry on the payout check for All Out. Some idiot ass drone sitting there talking about, I put a petition up on change.org because AEW was just too violent, and I put a petition up. They should be removed from, all of AEW programming should be removed from television, period. They're just too violent. They don't care about children. They don't care about this. They don't care about that, and blah, 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 blah. It's too violent. Today, Friday, 5 days later, Covalent TV's got something up basically saying, I don't understand how people can watch AEW. It's kind of like Romper Room, ha 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 ha, playbooks. Could you guys pick a fucking struggle? I mean, could you really? Pretty pleased with sugar on top. So, to the Nimrod, who was asking me what a drone was, those are drones. Don't do drone shit. And by the way, no one gives a flying damn whether you'd rather be waterboarded than watch AEW wrestling. Nobody cares. I'm not a particular fan of everything that WWE does, but I'm not going to be dumb enough to put up there, I'd rather be waterboarded than watch this. You know what? No, you wouldn't. Because first off, you don't even know what waterboarding is, you incel motherfucker. If you knew what it was, you'd pick a different concept. Idiot. JD from New York. This is the only time ever, from the past to the present to the future, that I will ever mention his name again. JD, what the fuck were you thinking? For those of y'all who don't know, JD from New York went on a very racist rant. Gaming, of all the things to go racist on, Mario Kart. Like, I played Mario Kart when it first came out. It never gave me racist vibes. What the hell? What were you thinking? Like, these people were gaming with you and didn't know who the hell you were? So you thought you could get away with all of those references you made? The only thing that would have solidified it and put the cherry on top of what I hope to be your last broadcast is you didn't say the N word. That's the only one you missed in that rant. I don't know. I don't know your situation. I know your circumstances and I know your location, but I don't know your situation. So if you're having a bad time, if AEW's just got you that wound up, if not getting the clout you were looking for has got you that wound up, bro, find something else to do. Because there are people, WWE drones, who look up to every word that comes out of your mouth like they quote you all day, every day. And then, when you say something ridiculously stupid and we call you out on it, oh, they took you out of context. There wasn't no taking that video out of context, son. Like I said, the only word JD from New York did not use, and it's on my page. It's also on the Covalent TV's page. I don't know who else has shared it. The only word, the only racial epithet he didn't use in that little thing was the N word. At least I didn't hear it. He may have even used that for all I know. But dude, number one, I don't know much about gaming, so I'm not going to pretend to know it. I got a couple of games I play. I'm not that good at it. I'm not a system superstar. I signed up for the network because you got to have it to play the games that I play. But I don't play on network with anybody because I'm too embarrassed, don't know how to do it. Looking for somebody to teach me. Anybody want to teach me the game? I'm wide open for that because I've always wanted to. I need some distractions. But I'm smart enough to know that if I'm gaming on the network, chances are there's a whole lot of people that are A, younger, B, faster, B, better, and C, belong to this generation. And this generation does not tolerate that stuff. And when I was growing up, my generation didn't tolerate it either. Now, I know that sounds crazy to say, but when we ran into racists and stuff like that, we gave them soap parties some days. True story. I was in a fight one time. This is when I was in middle school. And it was between me and somebody else, and they were not the same color as I was. And it got a good lick in on me. It was real good. I mean, knocked me off my feet, and I thought, damn, that was a really good lick. That's what I was thinking at the time. I'm like, I better step my game up or I'm going to get my ass kicked. Those were the thoughts going through my mind. Meanwhile, the dude was looking at me and saying, just say it, just say it. I'm like, just say what? Because the word was never in my vernacular. But he was expecting me to say that so he would be justified in fighting me. And when I didn't say it, fight was over. And I didn't try to get the last lick in. I just didn't give him what he wanted. I didn't even know what he wanted at first. But he wanted me to say that. And it just wasn't in my vernacular. Nothing about that. I'm Native American. I know it doesn't show. But my grandmother's 100% Cherokee on both sides of my family, which is another time from history that I'd rather not discuss right now, especially not in a wrestling stream. So why in the world would I have any ill will or any hate towards any other nationality? I was taught at a very young age not to do that. And I lived in the South. I didn't live in New York, JD. That wasn't an accident, dude. And quite frankly, I haven't seen an apology from you yet. I'm not saying there's not one out there. I just haven't gone and looked for the program. And I used to sit there and listen to like 10 minutes of his shit, and most of it was shit. I used to listen to like 10 minutes of his shit just to get an idea of what the other idiots were saying. Kind of like every once in a while, I listen to Disco Inferno just to see what the other idiots are saying. Because he's usually the soundboard for most of the idiots, because he grifts like a motherfucker, too. That notwithstanding, dude, if you don't get an apology out by the end of the day, and even then the apology ain't going to work, If people see what you actually said in that video, an apology ain't gonna work, dude. You're packed up. That's it. You're done. And you should be anyway. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Do you think it's okay for JD to shout out racial epithets just because he's playing a video game and he thinks nobody can see him? Shout out in the contact. Can't shout out in the comments. Shout out anywhere you want to shout out. I don't care. Videos on there. Videos on my page is pretty deep. I shared it yesterday. Yesterday morning, as a matter of fact. So it's damn near 48 hours old now. So, but it's there. And Covalent TV occasionally reshares it because we'd like for you to know where you're getting your information from. I think you have the right to know that. And that leads me back into what I was talking about with picking a fucking struggle. 90% of what drone babblers babble about come out of the mouths of people like him. And he says it in such a way that where he gets plausible deniability for about 90% of it. But you don't even have to read through the lines for most of it. And I get it. It's a grift. It makes money. I get it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, sir. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, sir. And I'm telling you, if you open up about your struggles, life gets a whole lot easier, buddy. Life gets a whole lot easier. When you just go ahead and tell the people you don't like them, it saves a whole lot of trouble. You don't have to stress yourself out. You don't get high blood pressure. You don't wind up screaming like a fucking prom queen who just got her first penis. You don't have to do things like that, man. You can just say, look, I don't like this, this, and that, and just call it a day. But then your audience, which is mainly of this, and that, will not come watch you anymore. They will have to find somebody else. But, you know, a lot of WWE drones will probably sit there and go, but he's not talking about me. Yeah, he is. He was talking about you and he was talking to you when he thought nobody could see him, when he was in a gaming server, when he thought nobody knew who he was, and somebody clipped that shit. He was live on a gaming server. He didn't realize anybody knew who he was. Somebody clipped that shit and put it right out there. That's what he thinks about you. Go listen to it. It's a greatest hits of, you know, I can't find my white sheet and my pointed hat. It's a greatest hits album of that. Go find it. Have a look at it. Then hold his ass to the fire. See, that's the other thing, too. You guys don't hold people to the fire. That's why this is out here. You know, even for that disease, which we shall not mention from 2020 because apparently it hurts the algorithm, we found a solution for it. And the solution was a vaccination. The solution for this kind of crap right now is also a vaccination. The vaccination of where you just stop engaging him. When you just figure out that that's what he physically thinks about you. He just needs you for the likes and the shares. But if he didn't need you for the likes and shares, he'd probably do it on his show. Because that's who he is as a person. You say, well, Matthew, you don't know that. Sure, I do. He didn't know anybody was listening, though he should have. I mean, dude, you're JD from New York. Everybody quotes you. AEW, WWE, TNA, everybody in the business quotes you at some point in time. You have been quoted by every market share in professional wrestling at one time or another. So you should know that a lot of professional wrestling fans watch you. And you should know that a lot of professional wrestling fans know who you are in a gaming system. And you should have known that somebody was going to clip that shit. But apparently, since you think you're above the law and all that, just keep on going. Don't, I mean, not law, because we're not Europe yet. Nobody's broke a law yet, except for a law of morality, which you can't go to jail for. But if you thought nobody was listening, man, you're especially stupider than I thought you were. Because I always thought you were pretty dumb anyway. But this right here just kind of confirms it. JD, man, get some help. Figure out your position in life. If that is your position in life, fix it. Because you're going nowhere with that kind of position in life. And I don't care how this tastes going down. I don't care if you're a fan of his. I don't care if you like what he's got to say. The man's a racist piece of shit. And once again, WWE drones pick a struggle. Hulk Hogan can't be a racist piece of shit if he's not a racist piece of shit. Got a little bit of flack on that, like, well, I don't think he really meant it in a racism sort of way. I don't know of another way to say it. I don't. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a fucking duck. Because that's what it is. JD, your own demise, not mine, bro. I just reported. I don't go looking for it. So any of his fans, you want to come hit me up, please. I got plenty in the clip, and I'm ready to just start slapping comment for comment, okay? Because if that's the kind of guy you're going to support, you're easy. I can pack you up in less time than a commercial. I can get you out of there for less time than a commercial. Bottom line. If you want to come at me, bring it. I don't care. Oh. All right, now that we've gotten through the hard part of it, now we're going to get to the good part. Tonight we've got AEW Rampage, and I would like to tell you that Camille Brickhouse has issued a challenge to all of us. That's right, I'm amplifying it with the 10 people. Thank you very much. Thank you for the 10 people that are still hanging out with me. That's great. I know I'm getting ready to get into some precious time here. So I'm going to wrap it up pretty quick. I had no intentions of going anywhere near SmackDown because it's the premiere. I am personally not watching it tonight. But that doesn't mean that I hate it. It just means that we're experiencing technical difficulties on getting USA on this television. When I figure it out, I'll have it back on there. At least I'll watch it for the entertainment value. I'm not particularly crazy about it. I'm not crazy about anything going on SmackDown tonight, and I'm not going to put myself through that. I'm going to save all of my energy for the AEW reviews that I'm going to do. But Camille Brickhouse has gone one step further, so for the 10 of you that are still here, you're in for a treat. Camille says that if you take a photo of yourself watching Rampage and you tweet it with hashtags Camille and hashtag Brickhouse, you might get a surprise. And I don't know if that's a follow or a DM to say, what's your address? We're going to send you some treats. I don't know what it is, but there is a surprise coming if you follow those steps. So AEW is out there doing good business. They're doing wholesome business. They're doing engaging business. You may not have known it yet, but they're going to be opening up the Jacksonville Jaguars game with an actual AEW trios match. They're going to have it before the game kicks off. Tony Khan is going to have AEW in front of NFL fans in a way and manner that it has never been done. So, shout out to Tony Khan for that idea. Somebody pitched that, probably needs a raise, because I wasn't even thinking about that. It didn't even dawn on me until I saw it. I'm like, with the NWA, Billy's bringing them on the road with him and putting them out there in concerts to get the product out in front of potential people who may not be fans. Tony Khan says, I'm going to have a trios match before the game. 11:30 to 12 o'clock, trios match, also on my page. Good idea, great marketing. Great marketing idea. Now, I'm not 100%, I'm not saying that the people that are going to be in attendance for the football game are going to go, wow, here's a bonus wrestling match we weren't looking for. It's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And a lot of people are going to be introduced to AEW wrestling in a way and manner they were not expecting. Shout out to Tony Khan. Shout out to Camille Brick for posting that. Get that engagement up, going with Rampage. Because now, in order to get to the surprise, you've got to actually watch Rampage. And you've got to actually follow instructions. Not a bad idea. Camille, man, that, I'm going to tell you right now, that was brilliant. That was an absolute brilliant move. Camille is not hard on the eyes, guys. She's married. Her husband is in the NWA, and I think he won a title. She's married, and that's fine and dandy. She's not exactly hard on the eyes, so she's starting to use her visibility. And that was just brilliant marketing right there. But then of course, she also posted a newspaper article of her 1560 on the SAT at age 13. So I'm guessing she's not dumb either. So just so you know, that was an Easter egg that Camille Brick dropped. And if you go to her page, she's got it up there right there. If you go to her page on Twitter, at least I know of. I don't know if it's on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, because I don't really keep up too much with either of the other two platforms. But I do know that on Twitter she has actually announced that if you follow those simple directions, very simple. If you follow those simple directions and post it, tweet it with those hashtags, you might be in for a surprise. So you know what? I'm your Huckleberry. I'll jump in there and do it just to see what the surprise is, whether I get it or don't get it. Another thing to shout out to Mercedes Monet's magazine. If you have not subscribed to this absolutely free magazine, comes out every week in your inbox. She doesn't spam you. You don't get AEW merchandise offers. You don't get any of that other bullshit. It's just Mercedes Monet. If you have not subscribed to the Mercedes Monet magazine, you're leaving money on the table, because this is actually from her. This is not a dirt sheet. I covered this on my last stream. AEW is making power moves for the future. They're making power moves for the future to create an informed public, which means some people are taking it out of the hands of the dirt sheet and doing it on their own. That way, if you read something erogenous, irregular about one of those wrestlers, you know it's bullshit, because they put all their own stuff out themselves. And if I'm going to say this again, said it on the last stream, saying it again. If every other wrestler did that, Drone Babble would have to dry up. Both sides. Now, AEW has drones too. I'm not going to pretend like there aren't AEW drones. I've seen a few. But how you combat misinformation, wrestlers, professional wrestlers, is you do what works. And what Mercedes is doing not only works, guys, I'm not kidding you. She had to actually say she was divorced. Because people who have that go, well, she didn't say it in there. I don't believe it. Because the dirt sheets started making rumor mills that it was either the last pay per view or the one before. They started the rumor mill about, well, she's getting a divorce and so on and so forth. Nobody believed it because she manages her own news. And if it didn't come from that news, if it didn't come from that magazine, everybody just automatically assumed it was a lie. She had to physically say that. So we know that style of branding works. This is a bonus segment. It wasn't listed, I know. But I've been on this kick lately because things that work, I want to see every wrestler doing them. And that's also in the WWE, the TNA, in the history of all promotions. I want to see all of these wrestlers spending 10, 15 minutes a week going, I'm going to control my own narrative. I'm not going to let the dirt sheet control my narrative. I'm not going to let the drones control my narrative. I'm going to control my own narrative. And it works. It definitely works. Let's get into the highlights for tomorrow. Let's talk about tomorrow's Collision. I will be covering Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision all in one show tomorrow night following Collision. Because this week of AEW programming has just been so freaking awesome. So the matches we've got for Collision tomorrow night, we've got Jack Perry versus Christopher Daniels. Not sure I'm emotionally invested in that one very much. Jack Perry getting extra television time though, because he is like, of anything to come out of All Out, Jack Perry came out as a made man. So they are striking while the iron's hot. They got Jack Perry on there versus Christopher Daniels. Now we're gonna have a treat. We've got Mark Briscoe and Hologram and Kyle O'Reilly going against the premier athletes. I am invested in that. Hologram is home built, homegrown, all the way across the board, doing well. Kids love him. Far as I'm concerned, he could be the next Rey Mysterio. Respectfully, nobody will ever be Rey Mysterio, but he could be the next Rey Mysterio. Willer Yuta's going to wrestle a guy named Anthony Henry. Private Party and Commander are going to be wrestling in a 6-man tag, which means we're going to get Alex Abrahantes. So, can I just say right now, yeah, I'm down on that one. No investment whatsoever, but I'm trying to. Just for Private Party and Commander are good. Um, I can deal without Alex the Hype Man all day long, twice on Sunday. Juice Robinson and the Guns are going to be going against Gates of Agony and Brian Cage. Yuka Sakazuki, I'm not even going to try that, and Serena Deeb are going to go at it. Queen Aminata and Robin Renegade. Good to see Robin Renegade getting more television time. For those of you who don't know, Robin Renegade is an up and comer. And so is Queen Aminata. So when you say, well, why are all these wrestlers going off television? We've already got time here just on Collision for 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to have 5 people on Collision. Let me make sure I've got that right. I don't want to say something stupid. I know that we've definitely got 4, potentially 5 people on Collision that no one has seen that, AEW hopefuls or AEW fans know about. But if you're the casual viewer, you're going to get introduced to 5 new people on this show. Why? Because a couple of wrestlers are taking a couple of months off to make movies and things, which is perfectly okay if the other company does it. Once again, guys, pick a struggle. I keep going back to that. Pick a struggle. I mean, last time I checked, Seth Rollins had just got his ass back in the door before it was summarily sent right back out. Pick a struggle. And for the main event, FTR is going against Grizzled Young Veterans. I've seen them on other AEW programming. This is going to be their AEW Collision debut, and it's going to be a good one. Trust me, it's going to be a really, really good one. And for the dark side, things that you don't know, it says after the TV taping, Tony Khan brought out Chris Hero and Madison Rain. Mark Sterling came out, so FTR hit Mark Sterling with a shatter machine, just for kicks and giggles. That's all the spoiler I've got. I get the spoilers for the dark stuff. So that's where we're at for Collision tomorrow night. Collision is not shaping up to be the absolute banger that the rest of this week has been, but it's going to bang. It's going to be a nice chill after everything else we've seen on Dynamite. And I'm telling you right now, you can see the matches going on to my left here. Rampage is not going to be slack. We're going to have a Hellacious Dynamite and Hellacious Rampage. Then we're going to have a pretty chill Collision. So, and I'm going to let y'all go because I know a lot of you want to get over to watch SmackDown in 13 minutes, and we've got to get everything ready for that show. I'm personally am going to be working on other things because, like I said, we have a problem with getting USA in the house right now. I'm on one of the networks where it's not playing. They're working on it. Otherwise, I mean, but I'm not panicking. I'm like, oh my God. I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to miss the new logo, or oh my God, I'm going to miss. Y'all, that cage match, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a pillow fight. I'm not really that interested in it. I'm not. I mean, the main reason I'd be watching SmackDown is to see what they're doing with Bayley. That's it. Bayley would be it because basically SmackDown's going to be Bloodline, Bloodline, Bloodline. Which one of you fan bases has got somebody we haven't covered in the last? We'll cover them. Bloodline, Bloodline, Bloodline. Everything's going to center around that. All the people you normally like, until they can fix that shit right there, too. I'm not going to cover it because, quite frankly, I think it's a disservice. Uh, if they did not figure out what happened just because Roman Reigns took a couple of months off, they got all the money. They're smarter than I am. They'll figure it out. I'm tired of wasting time, effort, patience, breath, and television time on saying they're not doing what you think they're doing. Because if they were doing what you thought they were doing, Roman Reigns should have been able to take a few months off without it adversely affecting the product. They're not doing what you think they're doing. And until they can fix that, I'm not interested in covering it. Now, that's my drone accountability, but it's all facts, too. But anyway, I don't want to take up time for SmackDown. You guys have been great. We have 14 here so far. I think it was up to 15 at one time. I appreciate all y'all for showing up. Keep showing up. We'll get bigger. Like, comment, share. You know, that's how you grow a stream. And you grow a stream by getting out and doing a stream. But other than that, enjoy SmackDown. Now, don't take anything I had to say to heart. Those are my personal feelings about what I think is going to happen tonight, and that's why I can't cover it, because that's what happens every week. If I'm looking at it as a fan, I can totally understand why you'd think I'm full of shit. Looking at it as a fan, I get it. But looking at it from an analytical standpoint, you would be like, yep, you're absolutely right. It's going to be that, going to be the other, going to be everything else. You're right. Absolutely. But that's okay. I want you to enjoy SmackDown. I want you to enjoy professional wrestling. Do not enjoy racists like JD from New York. Because if you enjoy that, do not enjoy my show. I don't want you as a viewer. I don't want you on my I don't want you following me, and I don't want to follow you. If you think that kind of behavior is okay, get the hell off of my page. Get the hell out of my stream. I don't care. Because one of my friends does this shit better than anybody else. That includes JD, that includes Bully, that includes Disco, that includes Conan. I'll call Conan out too. And he happens to be black. He's very good at it. He's very good, and he happens to be in part of that area that would be affected by idiotic, lame ass comments like that. And he's way better than JD. Trust me. Anybody's better than JD. All he does is get there and shout at the mic. But as far as facts, data, and statistics, he's on top of it. Every time, every stream, unbreakable arguments. I haven't made an argument yet that can be broken. I mean, you can rationalize it away in your head all you want to, but you're not breaking the argument. That's how the system works. I'm just spinning the block here, real quick, as they say. That's how something goes from in my hand to on your television screen. I gave you the entire stage of it, just so you can understand how big it is. Why is that? So when you hear people saying, oh, they don't have that, you'll understand. Now, wait a minute. Why in the world would they spend hundreds of millions of dollars to load content that they're going to have to unload in December? Because the answer to that question is they have a deal. Nobody's going to set themselves up that way, so on and so forth. It ain't going to happen. Ever. In the history of everdom, has anybody ever been bold enough to say, I'm going to take your shit and load it whether it's mine or not? Because you only think they're having economic troubles right now. If they did something stupid like that, they'd have a lot of economic troubles, and Tony Khan would probably wind up owning Warner Brothers. Not a joke. Not even playing. That's how serious this is. So don't believe the hype. Don't believe the drones. Don't believe the dirt sheets. Don't believe any of that. Now, I'm not coming at you with specific numbers, just that there is a deal in place. And every bit of common sense says that I'm right. Every bit of common sense says Covalent TV is right. Every bit of common sense says that we are right, they are wrong. There is no other excuse. There is no other way to look at it. Because companies do not spend $500 million loading content that isn't theirs. Those are actual figures. So what I'd like y'all to do now, because I'm going to shut up because, SmackDown's getting ready to come on. I'm going to hop off here, let you guys enjoy SmackDown, and I just want you to know, thanks for sticking with me. We wound up with 15. Hey, thank you. I appreciate you being here. And I hope you guys enjoy SmackDown, okay? And good night, America, wherever you are. Take care. Be blessed. I'll see you tomorrow night at 10:15, definitely, for my review of Collision, Rampage, and Dynamite here on The Sicko Show from Graps TV. You have a great evening. Take care.